Hello, and welcome to episode 30 of The Spectrum. This was recorded on September 28th, 2025. Today, we're going to be looking at the modern right wing political movement and comparing it to the McCarthy era of the 1950s. Spoiler alert, they're doing it again. Joseph McCarthy was a Republican U.S. Senator from Wisconsin. He was in the Senate from 1947 through 1957. His name became the banner for a political movement of repression and persecution of left-wing people. The other name for it was the Second Red Scare. The first Red Scare started in 1947, when President Truman signed an executive order to screen federal employees for possible associations with organizations classified as totalitarian, fascist, communist, or subversive that advocated altering the form of the U.S. government by unconstitutional means. The fear of communism making inroads in America was probably the biggest fear of those in power after World War II. The Soviet Union was extending its reach over Eastern Europe. America was headed toward the Korean War. Fear of communism was commonplace, and once the Soviet Union did a test detonation of a nuclear weapon, this fear was even greater. In February 1950, McCarthy gave a speech to a Republican women's group in Wheeling, West Virginia. He claimed to have a list of names of State Department employees who were members of the U.S. Communist Party, and that they were part of a spy ring. This kicked off the second Red Scare. It also kicked off a scare of another color, the Lavender Scare. This was a panic about gay people in the federal government, and led to the mass dismissal of people suspected of being gay. In the minds of the people perpetrating this, to be gay was to be a communist sympathizer, and to be gay was to be a deviant. Thousands of people were accused, many of them on flimsy or non-existent evidence. Hundreds of people were imprisoned. Thousands lost their jobs. Some took their own lives. The Lavender Scare institutionalized persecution of gay people. This continues to this day in many parts of our country, but with the rising political power of the gay community, an easier target was needed: transgender people. The 2024 campaign saw transgender people being targeted in political ads by Republicans. Once Trump was sworn in, a rash of executive orders were signed targeting transgender people. A wave of anti-transgender laws has swept Republican-controlled states. What crime did transgender people commit? Existing, and then having the temerity to be visible in society. Transgender people have become more visible in the 21st century, and their very existence and their demand to be treated as human beings has sent right-wing organizations into apoplectic frenzy. Unsurprisingly, here in 2025, political ads for statewide races in Virginia have continued the trend, with Republican candidates misrepresenting transgender people. The clear intent is to portray transgender people and anyone advocating on their behalf as sick and disgusting people. Transgender people are all but accused of being sexual predators. Because the Republican gubernatorial candidate is behind in the polls, something needed to be done to drum up fear, and transgender people remain the target of choice when immigrants are not an option. With the murder of Charlie Kirk, the attacks on transgender people have ramped up even more. The Heritage Foundation has recently called for the FBI to label groups that support transgender rights as domestic violent extremists. They want a completely new designation for transgender ideology-inspired violent extremism. The Heritage Foundation, the organization responsible for Project 2025, seems to me like it could be headed for its own hate group designation. They have managed to stay just outside that designation, but acts like this seem like they could cross that line, at least to me. The FBI has only responded with a no comment when asked if they were considering this request. That's not a denial, so we don't know what is going to happen. As anyone who watched episodes 27 through 29 of the podcast learned, the only thing that transgender people care about is living their lives with their bodies and minds in harmony. The only ideology is the same one that everyone should have: treat people with respect, compassion, and dignity. This is just basic human decency. It's the ideology that should be central to every American. I don't know of a single organization advocating for transgender rights that supports or condones violence. The only radical ideology that exists is on the part of these right-wing groups that want to exclude people from society. Regressive organizations demonize people like it was 1950 all over again. We're still trying to fix the damage that McCarthy and his cronies created in their quest to purge our society of gay people. We must continue to work to repair the damage that Donald Trump and the Regressive Party are doing to the lives of transgender people. They're using the same playbook. They accuse transgender people of being violent extremists and sexual perversion, in the same way that gay people were accused of being communists and deviants. The only difference this time is the Supreme Court. The court put an end to much of the McCarthy-era legislation. Today, when faced with similar situations, the Supreme Court has been far less friendly to individual rights and far more friendly toward executive power and actual extremist groups. I get that many of the people watching or listening to this podcast may think, this doesn't affect me. Why should I care? And there are a bunch of reasons. First is that it affects people you know. The odds are good that you know a transgender person, though you may not know it. The consequences of this transgender scare can ruin their lives. And it's being done simply because they exist and make convenient targets for power-hungry people. I'm not saying every transgender person is a saint. People are people. But there is no organized, well-funded movement to subvert society or commit violent acts like the Heritage Foundation claims. Foundation wants political power, and they want to eliminate organizations that disagree with their worldview. They're happy to ruin people's lives to get that power. People like that should never be given access to power. Transgender people are just people who want to be part of society. That's the right of every person. The second reason is that if they succeed with dehumanizing transgender people, then we're well on the road to repeating some horrible crimes we've seen in the past, where people are picked up off the street and not given access to due process. We're already on that road with immigrants. We need to stop before America stops being the land of the free and becomes the land of the Nazi. The actions our government are taking are not legal and they are not ethical. If they will do it to immigrants, they'll do it to others, even American citizens. The final reason is that it's simple human decency. Transgender people have done nothing wrong. If we don't want to radicalize a generation of people, then we need to stop demonizing them. If people are pushed to the point where they have nothing to lose, then there will be violence. But that violence doesn't exist now, and there's no reason it needs to. Right now, the vast majority of political violence in America is coming from right-wing extremists. Our rather right-wing government keeps trying to label violent perpetrators as left-wing extremists. They also want to label anyone that supports a progressive worldview as extremist. But we're not extremists. It's not an extremist view to want to be accepted as part of society. It's not an extremist view that the Constitution should apply to everyone. The only extremist view is in labeling people as other and less than human. What they're doing is straight out of the McCarthy and Nazi playbooks. We need them to stop. If the Heritage Foundation succeeds in making our society even more regressive, then it's only a matter of time until they need a new target. Groups like this can't exist without an enemy. They thrive on creating enemies. If they succeed with one enemy, then they will need another, and this time it might be you or someone you care about, someone who's done nothing wrong other than to exist and become a convenient target. The best way to do this is at the voting booth. Here in Virginia, we're voting for statewide offices as well as the House of Delegates in 2025. The national midterm elections are just over a year away. Right-wing politicians are attempting to redraw political districts in an effort to ensure they remain in power. It will take an overwhelming act of dissent to get rid of them, and it may be our only opportunity. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. It's your responsibility as a citizen to figure that out for yourself. But I do hope this inspires you to vote for candidates that support freedom and vote against candidates that actually want to restrict the rights of American citizens. Send a message to politicians who target innocent groups that their kind of politics is no longer welcome. Many of the politicians in the Republican Party are not actually extremists, but they are cowards. They're more concerned with staying in power than in upholding the constitutional rights of Americans. If they see the writing on the wall, they will stop supporting this evil. And it is evil. I know of no other word to describe the act of dehumanizing people to gain power. If you have been supporting them, despite these policies because you think their other positions are more important, I hope you will reconsider. People like this don't stop. They will continue until no dissent remains. If you have a story about LGBT plus life you'd like to share, contact me at spectrumpodcasthost@gmail.com. If you're watching on YouTube and want to help the podcast reach a wider audience, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on an audio podcatcher, please leave a review through your podcatcher. If you're reading the transcript on the spectrumpodcast.org website, liking the posts will also help make them more visible to search engines. I've never been more concerned about our country. I thought we had learned the lessons of the evils of our past, but it's clear we haven't. We need to send a very clear message at the polls that we will not let our society become dominated by an authoritarian regime concerned only with its own power and greed. Until next time, take care and stay safe.